the world's largest thumbtack, and the amazing effects on your health that 5 minutes of exercise can do. That one is bonkers. What a weird week.
Hi, everybody, it's Weird.
This is like crazy being here.
Really weird tale. Well, I got a great show for you today with some wonderful weird stuff.
Hi, friends, I'm Scott, and this is What a Weird Week. If you're inundated with serious news all week and you don't have time for the weird news, we got you covered. We catch you up on all the weird news that happened, and you can get everything we talk about, like links and stuff about our podcast, our social media, everything. If you remember, shownotes.page, shownotes.page. All right, here we go. It's season 5, episode Can't Remember, first published on Friday, November the 8th, 2024.
10.
Number 10 is the amazing world record set by the Transit Authority of Central Kentucky. Transit Authority, Central Kentucky, TACK, TAC. And they made the world's largest thumbtack, you guys. It's amazing. It's 21 feet something, and it weighs around 3,000 pounds.
We are here today at Transit Authority of Central Kentucky, aka TAC, for the Guinness World Records largest tack in the world. Do you see that huge thing?
It's not the kind like a push pin or carpet tack. It is the kind that looks like a tiny spear. I don't know. Am I explaining it right? Anyway, we link to the video if you click shownotes.page. Next up, let's build a giant who can hold that thumbtack. Hey?
9.
This one, you may want to sit down for this. No, wait, you may want to stand up. You may want to jog in place. I don't know what you want to do, but this one is amazing to me. New research shows that 5 minutes of exercise can help to lower your blood pressure. We link to the thing. You can do a deep dive, but that's kind of the takeaway. 5 minutes of exercise, you guys. This is amazing good news for a lazy person like me. This study involved around 14,000 people. Bit of a game changer, you guys. 5 minutes of exercise. Up next, another world record. It took 2,700 people to do it. Not everybody was able to do it, but enough people did. And they had enough spoons that we got a world record to talk about. That's next. This is What a Weird Week. We catch you up on all the weird news that's been happening.
8.
Felicidades, ustedes son oficialmente asombrosos. Ustedes son official.
That's a bit of the video. It's a kind of impressive thing to see the 2,700 kids from a high school in Mexico during the egg fair in Mexico. One of these things where you put an egg on a spoon, you hold it out in front of you, and you walk at a slow to moderate pace for 100 meters. And enough of the kids did it that we got a world record on our hands, you guys. It's a lot of spoons. It's a lot of eggs. Those things are not cheap. They had to count it all up there, and we had 2,700 kids trying. We ended up with a little over 2,000 kids actually doing it without breaking any rules or, scrambling any eggs. So that is the largest egg and spoon race.
7.
I have a lot of questions about number 7. The fellow in Japan who was arrested for making over 100 silent phone calls to his wife. So he would call his wife, not say anything. Allegedly, the story says the man was trying to express his love through silent phone calls. His wife figured out that the phone calls stopped when her husband was playing video games. She put 2 and 2 together. Somehow the police got involved in this. It must have been too awkward to actually approach her husband and say, hey, what are you doing? Communication breakdown in the marriage or something? And so call the cops, and the fellow is arrested. Some sort of harassment charge. Next, we have a number that is so high, I don't even know how to pronounce. I didn't even know it was a word, but it is a fine that a company received that is more money than there is on planet Earth. This is What a Weird Week. We catch you up on the weird news of the week. You can get everything we talk about if you go to shownotes.page.
6.
Number 6 is the fine that Google received from a Russian court. The court ordered Google to pay a fine of $2 decillion. And this is because certain Russian media content was not allowed on YouTube. So the Russian court was like, reach into your deep, deep pockets, Google. Google is no longer in Russia. The article we link to seems to express some doubt that Google will ever pay that fine or Russia will ever get that money. The amount of money in the world is approximately $100 trillion. So the Russian court fined Google more money than exists. It's like a 2 with 30 some, I lost count, 30 some zeros. Don't get me wrong, Google's doing, it's not like they can't afford to pay some fine. They made $88 billion last quarter, something like that. That's a lot of money. Well, I thought it was a lot of money until I learned about the decillion dollar fine. Now, a decillion dollars is a lot of money to me. I won't stop until I have a decillion dollars, you guys. Please join our Patreon.
5.
The world now has a giant chicken, you guys. The Philippines just made headlines. A resort there made the largest chicken-shaped building. So we have a large chicken that you can now go visit at a resort in the Philippines. It's majestic. 114 feet tall. You can stay in there. The rooster rooms. They have like 15 different rooms, deluxe air-conditioned hotel rooms inside this giant chicken. Now, maybe you're wondering, why did they make really, when it comes down to it, why did they make the giant chicken hotel? A spokesperson for the resort is quoted in the article as saying they wanted it to be an attention grabber. It's for the attention grabbing, you guys. That's why giant chicken. Enough said. Hang on, up next, a nice relaxing airport adventure. Really? You're listening to What a Weird Week. We are a show about the weird news of the week.
4.
The therapy llama and the therapy alpaca, bringing joy to folks at the Portland airport. Benny is the llama, Captain Jack the alpaca, Captain Jack Paca. No, didn't work. Captain Jack. Those two emotional support animals made headlines this week. They visit the Portland airport to help relax people who may be anxious travelers. That's kind of the whole story. I mean, it's heartwarming and stuff. And if you like photos of alpacas and people being overjoyed to see llamas, we put a link in the show notes. How would you feel about, I get anxious traveling. I don't travel that much, but I would be one who is anxious in the airport, and I'll reserve judgment, I guess, because my first thought is if I see an alpaca in my airport and I'm already stressed out traveling, that would register to me as unusual, and I might be put off by that. I might become more stressed, wouldn't I? But I got to trust the science on this. I guess research says being adjacent to alpacas and llamas, even in the airport, wondering if your luggage is going to be overweight, is supposed to be good for you. It does seem to work for the people in the story. We link to that in the show notes. I don't know if alpacas and llamas also get anxious. Would you bring in another alpaca to calm down the first alpaca, or do you move to a different animal? These are things I would like to know. I need a follow-up story on this.
3.
Okay, number 3 might be triggering to you. Perhaps it is the fart control story, the Swedish fart control sign that started making headlines. It's just the Swedish word for speed. So it is just a speed limit sign, but it started gaining momentum online because as we read that, English speakers, we see fart. We see the word fart. And I kind of like the idea of clamping down, trying to have some sort of fart limit, fart control. It definitely, don't you think, should be something we look into at some point. Let's take care of some other things. But can't we get that added to a bill somewhere that perhaps they look into fart control? I don't know the stats right offhand, but I want to say hello to our Swedish listeners. I think we do have some on the podcast. We do have some Swedish downloads, or perhaps you are one who is fluent in Swedish. I'm sorry that we found your word for speed so amusing. 6 million views and counting online, the fart control sign. Maybe that's annoying to you that we are laughing at your word for speed. Sorry about that. If you're fluent in Swedish and there's an English word that you would like to point out as funny to you, please do reach out in the comments, or you can get in touch through shownotes.page. Hang on. Next, perfume for kids. Vitamin perfume. Vitamin perfume for kids. That's next. When you're too busy with real news to keep up with the weird news, we got you covered. This is What a Weird Week. There is a perfume for kids that got some press. It is called 7 Kids, and it is a prebiotic-enriched eau de parfum for children. It's hypoallergenic, sensitive, safe perfume for kids, and it has vitamin B3 in there. This is a good news story, right? I mean, is it? I don't know how to feel about this. To me, it seemed a bit odd because I'm from a different generation. My kids did not have perfume when they were little kids. If this was around when I was a kid and they were like, you can smell like this new eau de perfume for children or chicken nuggets, which do you think would be the most appealing? I'm going with chicken nugget scent. So I'm coming from a place where I don't really understand the world of children perfume. Honorable mention. Honorable mention this week involves cake and Taylor Swift, which is always good for clicks. People love cake. People love Taylor Swift, right? This is a shout out really to the folks who wrote the article at New York Post about the Taylor Swift cake that was damaged. They were doing an international cake competition, and the cake competitor made a life-size Taylor Swift cake, transporting it to where it would be judged. From where it was prepared to where it would be judged, Cake Taylor lost her hands. The article, in speaking of the cake incident, said that Taylor Swift's hands were shaken off. And then it's just a fascinating article with photos. We will link to all this in the show notes, but it's kind of like watching the reality show. You know, will they get Taylor Swift's cake hands repaired in time? Oh, now there's some sort of neck crack. Also, we have to take care of that. Just a wonderful, entertaining article. So, New York Post, you get today's honorable mention. Okay, number 1 story is next, you guys. Hi, friends. I am Scott, and this is the show What a Weird Week, where we catch you up on the weird news of the week.
1.
Wherever possible, I like to end the show on a bright note, on a happy, weird news story. It's got to be weird, but when it can be happy also, thank you. And this is one of those, you guys. This is from New York Post, and it's the story of the 17-year-old goldfish named Merlin, who got life-saving surgery, which doesn't happen every day for a goldfish, you guys. Merlin was a family, part of the family, right? You know what it's like when you have a pet and they become part of the family. And then Merlin took ill. I won't get into the details, but Merlin required surgery. The article talks about the difficulty. It hardly ever is done that a 3-inch goldfish is operated on. That's sort of me inferring, I guess. The article doesn't get too much into that, but they didn't know. They were kind of concerned about how to get the anesthesia right, how to get Merlin to sleep. So that led me to believe this doesn't happen too often. They had to figure out Merlin goes into a bowl of water with a certain amount of anesthesia medicine in there, whatever, and then gets sort of calm, then goes into another bowl with another dosage. And finally, Merlin went to sleep and they were able to operate. And Merlin's eating again and seems to be doing great, you guys. Goldfish surgery for the win. And that's the program. I appreciate when you like, you subscribe, you leave those reviews and all that. It is much appreciated. It does help the show. And you can get all our links and that if you go to shownotes.page. And a shout out to our friends at Funhouse Radio. That is a radio station broadcasting online, which you can seek out. Look for Funhouse Radio. Every weekend, we're part of the programming over there. One last thing, we're headed into Remembrance Day here in Canada and Veterans Day in the United States. I wanted to thank serving military members and families and say thank you, veterans, for your service. In Canada, we wear a poppy, and if you're curious to learn more, I'll put a link in the show notes. Okay, that's it. We'll catch you next week with more weird stuff on What a Weird Week.